8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you here as we get ready for another game in the NBA coming up tomorrow night. Also, of course, a big tournament about to get started. It is, of course, the U.S. Open, and Brady Kannon will give us a preview as to basically whether or not Scottie Scheffler is going to win another tournament. That's coming up. Also, our guest contributors from Sporting News. Today we have Jacob Camenker, and in addition, we have always a guest contributor from Legal Sports Report as well. So we'll dive into those stories and naturally talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup Finals. Is it possible that another cup is headed back to the state of Florida? Not just the Tampa Bay Lightning winning championships and getting to the finals this time. The Florida Panthers, just a couple of games away from that. We'll get to that in a second. But we begin with our top story of the day as Connecticut's head coach is staying put. Dan Hurley makes it official yesterday that he is turning down the Lakers' offer of 6 years, $70 million. It would have made him one of the NBA's 6 highest paid coaches. But ultimately, he stayed put and now has a chance to pursue a third title at Connecticut. Hurley also had an offer from UConn to become one of the highest paid coaches, according to several published reports. At UConn, over 6 seasons, his record is 141-58, already won a couple of championships there. And now the Lakers are going to have to figure out who they want as their next head coach. James Borrego is probably going to be part of the final group, as he's already interviewed. And maybe J.J. Redick actually gets an interview. We've been hearing rumors that he is potentially a candidate for the job as well. All right, the Milwaukee Bucks are right now adding another assistant to the mix, former head coach Darvin Ham. He is going to be the top assistant to Doc Rivers, as Rivers, of course, is the head coach there. Ham was the Lakers coach. And by the way, Ham went 94-70. And actually was pretty good, I thought, as the head coach there. But it wasn't enough. Maybe they'll just hire Ham back for the Lakers. Who knows? It's probably their best option. We will see. Sunday's NBA Finals game delivered the most watched Game 2 on ABC in 5 years. 12 million viewers average in the audience there. 14 million was the peak. And this is according to Nielsen ratings. Now, naturally, a lot of championship teams in college basketball have had their name and likeness used in order to sell things. And now the 1983 North Carolina State Wolfpack champion team are looking to sue for the unauthorized use of their name, image, and likeness saying that for more than 40 years, the NCAA and its co-conspirators have systematically and intentionally misappropriated the cardiac PAC's publicity rights. We will see if they end up getting paid off of this, if there'll be any agreement, but this is, of course, going to go through a lot of red tape and a lot of legalese before they get this figured out. Meanwhile, the Connecticut Sun, they did lose a game over the weekend, but they won again last night. They're now 10-1 on the season as they beat, guess who? Yep, the Indiana Fever. 3-10 on the season. Caitlin Clark, last night, just 10 points, 2 steals, and 1 assist. It's been a tough go for Clark, and it's been a worse go, probably, for the Indiana Fever, fair to say. All right, now over to the Stanley Cup Final. The Florida Panthers were down 1-0 to the Edmonton Oilers. It didn't matter. They came all the way back, not just 1, not just 2, not just 3, but, 4 goals in this one. The third goal, by the way, was the key one. Panthers' Evan Rodriguez in the first 3 minutes of the third period sort of put the game away. Now, the issue with the Panthers moving forward could potentially be the status of their star center, Alexander Barkov, who didn't play the final 9 minutes of the game after taking a hit from a player on Edmonton. He was given a 2-minute penalty for roughing. There's still a couple of days until the next game heads to Canada, but without Barkov, you would expect Edmonton to be favored in the next game. Panthers 2 wins away from winning their first Stanley Cup championship. They have been there twice before. Meanwhile, Matthew Tkachuk talking about just how amazing their team has been playing and some big goals as well from Evan Rodriguez in Game 2.
So good, so happy for him, proud of him. He was awesome playing with him the last few games. He reads the game so well. That's 2 games in a row scoring some big goals for us. He's a super smart player, and I'm really happy to see him get rewarded right now. But, he worked so hard, and tonight it was him, and could have been, a number of guys, and, he did a great job of finding the net for us. And I think other than the goals, he was super steady for us, moved his feet, got on the forecheck, made some really good plays. So it was a really great night for him. I don't know. We worked so hard starting from training camp, and, it might just pay off in the third. I don't know. Everybody's in great shape and great competitors, and as games go on, we like to think we get a little bit better. So it's just all about the style of play and trying to play that for 60 plus minutes. It's hard to do, but we've done it for 2 years, so it is what it is. It's so good, so happy for him, proud.
And the Panthers right now 2 wins away from winning the Cup championship. Meanwhile, the Edmonton Oilers were hoping for better results, maybe stealing 1 game in Sunrise. They did not. And Connor McDavid, after last night's game, said there's no question they're going to have to play better when they head back home.
Yeah, they're a great team. They defend really well. They got a great goalie. Doing a lot of really good things. Obviously, they're playing in the Stanley Cup final. They're making it tough, for sure. Well, we got to be better. We can be better for sure. I thought they went up a level and we didn't match it today. We got to work our way out of it. It always starts with work with our group. They're a unique penalty kill, just like they're a unique team. They're aggressive. We got to have guys ready for the puck. We got to have guys making good plays. You got to string good plays together, and we haven't been able to do that. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's another opportunity for our group to come together and dig our way out. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. And I'm excited to see what our group's made of. I'm excited to see our group come together. I'm excited to see us fight through adversity, and looking forward to people doubting us again. We're good with their backs against the wall.
Oilers with a must-win coming up in Game 3 in the Stanley Cup Finals. Meanwhile, the College Baseball World Series set to go this weekend. Last night, North Carolina State, they punched their ticket to Omaha, defeating Georgia. Final 8-5. Eli Serrano hit a home run in the 6th inning and also made a great catch in center field. Now the Wolfpack will take on Kentucky in the opening round at the College World Series Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. My Gators are also in the College World Series as well. All right, the Baltimore Orioles, thanks to Gunnar Henderson, hit a home run early. He's now has 21 home runs on the season. Gunnar Henderson, one of the favorites to win the American League MVP. He's going to have to beat out Aaron Judge and many others. But they completed a 4-game sweep over the Tampa Bay Rays. There's Ryan Pepio, did a good job yesterday. But, man, the Rays, for the first time in a while, don't look like the Rays. Orioles end up beating them 4 games in a row. Meanwhile, the Yankees defeated the Royals 4-2 as Juan Soto was back in their lineup, and the Yankees are happy for that, having Soto and Judge. Of course, Soto had missed some time with forearm inflammation, but returned yesterday to get that win against the Royals there. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Brewers are going to be without one of their young rookies, Robert Gasser, who made 5 starts this season and actually pitched pretty well, but unfortunately, the Brewers don't think he'll be returning this year. There could be potential surgery, bone spurs in the elbow. We really don't know for sure. In terms of the National Football League, latest news and notes, Jamar Chase made a statement by not showing up early to some of their mini camps, but he has shown up now to the mandatory mini camp. According to NFL Network, he is seeking a new contract. Meanwhile, his teammate, T. Higgins, has not reported to camp, so Chase is there, Higgins is not, and the beat rolls on in Cincinnati. Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to be making a head coaching change, at least it would appear, for a couple of years, as they sign Mike Tomlin to a contract extension. Of course, he is the longest tenured head coach in the NFL, and now will be with the team, at least on paper, through 2027, 173 wins and 100 losses with 2 ties. He's been fantastic as a head coach and headed to the Hall of Fame as soon as he's done. And also, Ramondre Stevenson, running back for the New England Patriots, is confident that he will get a new contract, looking for a new one as his rookie contract is coming to an end. That's the very latest in all the news, notes, and information and sports betting topics that we have for you to start the show, but with plenty more to come. Jacob Camenker talks some NBA with us next.
You got Porzingis, you got Holiday, you got Derek White, you got literally, I would say what, 5 guys can get you 20 points in a game?
I know people will say it's, only one guy. I don't believe that, Coach. That, one guy, those days are over, in my opinion. Like, a Bill Russell, a Wilt Chamberlain.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with the injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Panthers minus 2.5 games, plus 330. Panthers 2+ goals in every game, plus 225.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them not to get 2 goals in a game. It's going to take what Bobrovsky did last night. It's going to take Skinner to do in Edmonton. They're not going to do it in Florida.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. The top story in basketball late yesterday was finding out that Dan Hurley, who was reportedly interviewing and got an offer to become the Lakers' next head coach, turned them down. Let's bring in Jacob Camenker, who will talk a lot about this. And there's really 2 stories here, Jacob, I suppose. The first is Hurley, clearly wanting to stay at Connecticut. It feels like he went pretty far down the road here. At least the optics would play that he went far down and inevitably decided to stay at UConn. We don't know the full reason why. I'm guessing at some point in a press conference in the future, we will find that out. So that's the one story. Jacob, the other story here is that if you turn down the Lakers, my gosh, like sometimes you hear about these stories where the guys take jobs and it isn't even about the money. It's like, wow, I'm the manager of the Yankees or the head coach of the Packers or something like that. Like this is a prominent job turned down here, isn't it?
It is. It's a little surprising to see the job turned down in such a manner, but I do understand it to an extent because the Lakers, they still carry prestige. They're still one of the most recognizable teams in the NBA, one of the most successful as well. And they have LeBron James, who's still one of the best players on the planet, if not the best on some nights. And I think a lot of people will say, why would you turn down that opportunity? I think for Dan Hurley's perspective, he knows he's pretty safe and entrenched at UConn. He does have a chance to make history. And I'm just not sure how appealing for him making the jump to the NBA with that Lakers team might be because, he'll be transitioning from the college game to the NBA if he took that job. And then he'd have to, work hand in hand with LeBron, who obviously wants to get one more title, if not multiple, before he calls it a career. So I wonder if Hurley looked at that as a potential dramatic situation and just said, it's best for me right now to turn that down. But I do think there's a lot of coaching candidates out there that will look at LeBron and the Lakers and say, can I really get this team to where it needs to be a championship contender? Because anything less than that is really not acceptable for the Lakers. And I think it's a hard sell because of the way that roster is built.
Yeah, and I think maybe the way Hurley looked at it too. Again, I have no inside information, but my speculation on this one would be Hurley probably thinks to himself, if I have one bad year, I'm just getting fired. And what is that doing for my resume? I guess I'm collecting money, but doing nothing else. And you're clearly not about the money for him as he decides to go back to Connecticut. Now, it's funny, over on FanDuel, here are the odds for the we don't know what we're doing handicapping because, nobody knows a bleep in college basketball. Who's in, who's out, who's in the portal. It was so funny looking at these odds on FanDuel, Jacob, here, that everybody's the same, right? Like, come on. Like, this is what it tells you here, that they don't have a clue as to who's going to win the championship. There's not even like a 4-1 or a 12 or 13-1. It's like, let's just put everybody the same and take some action at the sports book. At least that's my identification looking at this.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, this is basically the sports books giving a big shoulder shrug and saying, hey, if you think you like one of these coaches or one of the star players is going to be staying at that school or you really like what the team's been doing in the transfer portal, be my guest, bet on this, get some solid odds. But I look at those odds and I say, I don't want to back any of these teams before seeing them in action next season, or at least knowing what they're going to have on their roster with certainty, because that transfer portal can open up several times throughout the year and all of a sudden things change, injuries happen. So as far as college basketball is concerned, I don't like making bets this early. I will wait till closer to the start of the regular season or until it's already started.
Yeah, I think that's fair at this point because, generally speaking, the season does not start until October, November-ish. No March Madness until next March. We're just a long way away from figuring that out. All right, I'm going to move ahead to the NBA Finals here because, again, we got a game coming up tomorrow night. We got a couple of days off. The Celtics will take on the Mavericks. I honestly thought that Boston would be a pick'em by the time the game went off tomorrow night. It doesn't appear to be that way, Jacob. Right now, the line is still stuck on -1.5. So I think Dallas, I'll have to change my opinion here, is probably going to be favored, even though I still don't think it'll be a 1.5. Here it is at 1.5, total of 212.5. And I guess the only thing that you could say about Dallas is that we just haven't seen nearly the best of them thus far. But I kind of thought that, to be honest with you, Jacob, going into game 2, like I thought, all right, well, look, they didn't play well in game 1. They'll probably get closer in game 2. And they pushed maybe a cover in some books. It was a really tight line there. Can Dallas jump back into this series? I mean, they've got to win tomorrow night. I feel like in any of these 7-game series, Stanley Cup Finals, even in this one, you got to win game 3, right?
I would think so. I think Dallas is going to be hyper motivated in this game. And I think the big difference is going to be Kyrie Irving is playing at home. As much as he wants to downplay the drama with the Boston crowd, I do think that, they're chanting against him. I think it does get to him a little bit. Like we've seen him kind of yelling at the fans on some videos that have been taken. And, he was saying, we'll see you game 5 while he was leaving the court. So he's a human being. Like, if you're getting jeered the whole game, it might get to you a little bit, especially if your shot's not falling. I think he'll be more comfortable at home, and that will give Luka Doncic a real partner in crime, and that'll test the Celtics a little bit more. Obviously, Jason Tatum's shooting hasn't been good too, so if he starts to catch fire, maybe the Celtics will be a bit better, but I'm a little worried about Kristaps Porzingis just turning that ankle even a little bit. If that slows him down even half a step, that's going to give the Mavericks a way to get past him and into the paint for some, maybe not easy looks, but at least a little easier. So I think that the Mavericks should be favored in Game 3, but, man, the Celtics have kind of pulled out those first two games, so they're looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, they are. We're going to take a look real quick at two different graphic options here on FanDuel. First is how quickly the season ends. Right now, you can get plus 270 in a sweep. It's plus 175 for Game 5. And then, look, I mean, the series goes 6 or 7. You make some good money. Finally, here's the MVP. Jaylen Brown has been the big mover. He's gone from about 3 or 4 to 1. Right now, Jacob, he is plus 155, as we talked about last week. He has moved up quite a bit.
Yeah, I like the NBA Finals MVP odds for Brown. I'm going to be pairing him with Jrue Holiday, too. Those 6-1 odds look really appealing to me because he really has been a stabilizing force for them. While Tatum hasn't been efficient shooting, Holiday has. So I think that might give him a little bit of an edge in this conversation, whereas he was an afterthought before.
Yeah, I mean, Tatum's still around the same. The other guys have moved up ahead of all the Mavs, obviously. Jacob, have a great rest of your week. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
You got Porzingis, you got Holiday, you got Derek White, you got literally, I would say what, 5 guys that can get you 20 points in a game?
I know people will say it's, only one guy. I don't believe that, Coach, that, one guy, those days are over, in my opinion. Like, a Bill Russell, a Wilt Chamberlain.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back, too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Panthers minus 2.5 games, plus 330. Panthers 2+ goals in every game, plus 225.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them not to get 2 goals in a game. It's going to take what Bobrovsky did last night. It's going to take Skinner to do in Edmonton. They're not going to do it in Florida.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. It's time for the SportsGrid Sound-Off, and our top story of the day is the decision made by Dan Hurley to remain at the University of Connecticut, and he's going to jump back into the Huskies. We'll get to that in just a minute. I want to hear what Ben Stevens has to say. But naturally, all of the talk right now going around with the Boston Celtics, and you just saw the odds over on FanDuel, potentially 3 or 4 players could win the MVP, especially if Boston wins. You're seeing those odds crash down. One of them, of course, is Drew Holiday, who's had a fantastic first 2 games. In game 2, 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. Holiday 6-1 right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the Finals MVP, but he says he's just a utility player.
I'm a utility guy. I'll do whatever. I'm here to win. I feel like they brought me here to win, and I'll do my best to do that. But at the end of the day, this is their team, and I know it's probably just as much as my team as theirs. But again, I feel like I've talked about this before. The pressure that they have on themselves to execute and to be great is a little bit different than my pressure. And again, I've always been honest about that, and how they always handle themselves has been something that's been so honorable. So it's slightly different. They're superstars, and I'm here to support.
Very well said from Holiday, who goes into game 3, a 6-1 to win the MVP. As I mentioned, Jaylen Brown is now plus 130 or plus 145. And right now, the favorite is Jason Tatum at plus 135. Now, the thing is that if the Mavericks win the next game, all of these odds are going to shift again. So if you think Dallas has a shot, you may want to take Luka now to win the MVP. Meanwhile, the decision made that was heard around the basketball world, the Lakers still looking for a new head coach. In fact, they made a 6-year offer for $70 million reportedly to Dan Hurley, but Hurley said, no, thank you. I'm going to stay and pursue another championship at the University of Connecticut. Let's check in with Ben Stevens from the early line, his thoughts on Hurley's decision and maybe where the Lakers go from here.
The best coach in college basketball is staying in college basketball. Dan Hurley electing to remain in stores at the helm of UConn's men's basketball program and not leaving for LA to become the next head coach of the Lakers. Dan Hurley, one of 17 coaches in D1 men's college basketball history to win multiple national championships. Dan Hurley, one of 8 college basketball head coaches ever to win back-to-back national titles. And he is the only active head coach to accomplish both of those feats. And when the decision from Dan Hurley was made, UConn goes back to a co-favorite to win a national championship entering next season alongside Kansas at 10-1. The three-peat lives on in stores, and Dan Hurley, the best coach in college basketball, is still in college basketball. Craig, back to you.
Thanks very much, Ben. And would it be it wouldn't be unprecedented, but would it be possible, even though I know now he's now taken a job with Milwaukee and Darvin Ham, I mean, shouldn't the Buss family just give Darvin Ham a call and say, hey, we may have acted pretty, quick here on this? I mean, Darvin Ham did a pretty good job coaching the Lakers, all things considered. Are they going to find a better guy than Ham at this point, now that Hurley is out of the mix? I'm not so sure. All right, let's move over to the National Football League, where Dak Prescott, once again, searching for some big bucks with the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, he was asked about it at the OTA's press conference, talking about his contract situation and essentially putting it all on himself, using the words, I'm a gambling man. Oh, no, that's not what you want to use in the NFL. At least he clarified that.
But there's also some uncertainty with contracts for guys, last year for you, last year for some guys, every coach, all that stuff. Does it raise any urgency as you're going into this season?
This is the urgency you should always have, to be honest. So maybe guys who normally wouldn't feel it. So I don't mind it. Been in this position before. I'm a gambling man. Will gamble on myself and my guys. So not actually, guys. I understand. I understand there's been a lot of shit with that. So not that way. Just a hot. So yeah. That being said, yeah. There you go.
Good job by Dak Prescott. Naturally, I don't think Dak Prescott's going to be betting on his own yards prop in September when the NFL season begins. All right, coming up next, Matthew Waters joins us from Legal Sports Report. A company and a sports betting provider we don't talk about all that much. It's time to dive into the very latest, Caesars Sportsbook. So those of you who use it all around the country, you may be interested in the latest issues and positives and benefits to their app, including their loyalty program. We'll talk about that next. Don't go away.
got Porzingis, you got Holiday, you got Derek White, you got literally, I would say what, 5 guys can get you 20 points in a game?
I know people will say it's, only one guy. I don't believe that, Coach, that, one guy, those days are over, in my opinion. Like, a Bill Russell, a Wilt Chamberlain.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with the injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Panthers minus 2.5 games, plus 330. Panthers 2+ goals in every game, plus 225.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them not to get 2 goals in a game. It's going to take what Bobrovsky did last night. It's going to take Skinner to do in Edmonton. They're not going to do it in Florida.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Matthew Waters is our guest contributor from Legal Sports Report. You can read all about all the things we discuss over at LegalSportsReport.com. And let's bring Matthew in for some stock updates. We're going to talk a little bit about BetMGM. We'll also hit on Caesars. And Matthew, I think it's really, one of the great stories of sports betting over the last year is all of the ads that we have seen and how they have dwindled down so much, right? Like they started off so hot and heavy. Caesars, MGM, everyone else, Jamie Foxx, all over the place, right? Caesars in particular, let's start there. As far as their success goes, I know they had a stock update recently, and they're trying something brand new in terms of loyalty to really make their stock and make their app work in a way that others don't. So tell me a little bit about how that works and why it's successful for them.
Sure. Well, first of all, for having me. Stifel held a cross-sector insights conference where they talked to a bunch of these companies, and management from these companies got a little more in-depth than they do typically on their investor calls. They just get into a little bit more granular detail. And what we heard about Caesars is that they really do feel like the platform now is at a point where it can compete with a DraftKings or a FanDuel. They have the parlay updates. They have more in-game betting available. And so they're saying, as in the past where they had Caesars reward members who would use their app, but then they would go price shop elsewhere. Or they would say, well, I know I can't make this bet on Caesars. Let me head over to one of the big guys with their bigger portfolio of bets. They're saying now they really feel like with their platform, there's no need to leave the platform at this point, that they have everything that a customer wants. And that should really help them in the long run because of what they say tends to be loyalty because of the Caesars Rewards program. It is touted as one of the best in the country in terms of rewards programs by a lot of people, including Stifel in their note. And they have upwards of 60 million people in the database. So that's really significant when you're thinking about what that could mean for Caesars moving forward. It has always been a topic of discussion for us, Craig, and throughout the industry. What can these casino operators, the their first line of business being these retail casinos, what can they do to outpace a DraftKings or a FanDuel? And now, if they're saying that their product is on par with them, then you would expect to see an increase in share because so many people do belong to Caesars Rewards. And it isn't hard to sell someone on staying loyal to a rewards program, Craig. I
Right.
personally, I traveled for business 3 years ago, and I stayed at a pretty nice hotel that has a chain across the country. And now I find myself still looking for that chain because I already accrued some points. And why not get more? Why not get something for the money that I'm spending anyway? So I think Caesars really has something going there that they're able to say, okay, we did it. The platform is there. Now let's show everybody why they should be betting with Caesars and why they should have been all along. Look at what they could have been doing with Total Rewards.
Right.
As for the stock, Craig, the outlook for Caesars is they want to hit $500 million in EBITDA from digital. And Stifel says it looks like that is within reach for 2026. They expect to add like $700 million in an additional digital revenue. 50% of that should all flow to the bottom line. And, we had so many of these partnerships, Craig, with, this sports book is the official sports betting operator of this team or this league or this restaurant, what have you. So many of those were signed in the early days of legal sports betting in the U.S. And honestly, Craig, what we're learning is that not a lot of them really paid off tangibly for these companies. And Caesars is one of them that went in big. And right about now, they have about $100 million in those partnership fees that are about to fall off from contracts that just won't be renewed. And that goes to the bottom line too. So right now, from a digital perspective, Caesars Palace, their online casino app, is doing very well. Caesars Palace is a strong brand that anybody even remotely familiar with gambling, they know what Caesars Palace is. So Caesars right now seems to be taking the right approaches and steps with their digital product. And I'm really interested to see what kind of gains they can make in the future.
Yeah, and again, I thought you brought up a great point as far as like the hotels and you going to different places and booking things. Like Caesars has had rewards programs on the hotel side for a long time, and it would only make sense that they would have an advantage over some of the other sports books to really implement something like that. So I think that does make some sense for them, and it's a really interesting note. Okay, now on the side of BetMGM, we talked about kind of where they're at. A little bit of a different story here. They had their stock report too, Matthew, and not quite as rosy as the one at Caesars, is it?
Yeah, going into this year, I don't know that we knew what to expect for BetMGM. Everybody was hitting profitability, and BetMGM hit profitability in the fourth quarter of last year, but it became clear from MGM and Entain that they were on board for this joint venture to have more investment this year. And while that hasn't exactly been quantified, management said, investors should be prepared for, quote, meaningful losses in 2024 before there's an inflection next year. And next year isn't even necessarily their big goal, right? Their big goal right now is $500 million in EBITDA for BetMGM as well by 2026. Next year, they're basically expecting for the expenses of BetMGM to begin to cover itself. The cash flow should mean that BetMGM can break even, maybe see a little profitability on a full year basis. We just don't know yet. But I thought that was interesting for BetMGM that they are still working on this platform and that they still have to put, meaningful dollars into this. Now, they haven't been as bad as a Penn, for example. Now, MGM and Entain both have put a lot of money into BetMGM, but they're seeing, their work pay off somewhat. Penn is in a different boat entirely with having to switch brands and just dumping money here and there. So MGM is a different situation right now, MGM, but yeah, investors have to be ready for meaningful losses this year.
All right, next story here. We move on to DraftKings and their acquisition of Jackpocket. An update on that as far as the money and the payment that was made here. Matthew, pretty hefty hefty sum here given to Jack Pocket. I guess good job by both sides. Jack Pocket for building their own company and getting out of it at the right time, and good job by DraftKings absorbing them.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Jack Pocket is a company that basically is a lottery ticket courier, essentially. You can go online, buy your ticket in a state that's approved, and they will have someone go to a store, physically buy that ticket for you. It's a really interesting concept. DraftKings is paying $750 million for this company. They've paid it. It's done. They've paid $324 million in shares to get this. It was a cash and share split. And remember, DraftKings is really bullish on this, Craig. They think that they can acquire customers through cost selling at a significantly lower rate than what customers are going for if you have to acquire them on the open market right now. Early days there, that this transaction only closed on May 23rd. So it is early days, but management is saying the integration is encouraging. Stifel expects that DraftKings is going to expand this lottery courier product quickly in states that it isn't in already, just to give them even bigger upper hand when it comes to DraftKings and that database, Craig.
Yeah, no, it is. And I love to hear about these stories where the companies merge, combine. It tells us really who's in, who's out. As always, we'll read about it over at LegalSportsReport.com. Matthew, thanks again for coming on Newswire. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, folks. Take care.
All right, preview of the U.S. Open next.
You got Porzingis, you got Holiday, you got Derek White, you got literally, I would say what, 5 guys can get you 20 points in a game?
I know people will say it's, only one guy. I don't believe that, Coach, that, one guy, those days are over, in my opinion. Like, a Bill Russell, a Wilt Chamberlain.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Panthers minus 2.5 games, plus 330. Panthers 2+ goals in every game, plus 225.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them not to get 2 goals in a game. It's going to take what Bobrovsky did last night. It's going to take Skinner to do in Edmonton. They're not going to do it in Florida.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. We've got Brady Kannon to preview the U.S. Open coming up this week, and naturally so much to talk about with last week's tournament. Another great job by Brady in some of these tournaments, picking the winners, top 20s. He's done a fantastic job. And if you had my access to my texts, you would see some of the great job that he does giving these picks out. And also, by the way, he writes a great column every week at golf.com that you could read about. He posts it on his social media account as well. Brady, thanks for coming on the show. Great to have you back. I know the Memorial, it was, boring in a sense, with Scotty Scheffler winning yet again as the favorite in a tournament yet again. And even with, if I'm not mistaken, the other day, I think it was Saturday, but it may have been Sunday. I mean, you rarely see a tournament champion, if I'm not mistaken, have a triple bogey on any hole and win a championship. And he still did it. To me, I mean, that was really the story of the weekend, was it not?
I think you're right, Craig. And I was on with Kevin that morning prior to Saturday's round, and Scotty had been going along so well the first 2 days, 67 and 68, and everything was clicking. And I said, you know what? He could be due for a little bit something pedestrian here. Maybe he gives the rest of the field a chance. He shoots even par, 1 under, something like that. He ended up 1 under, but nobody was able to capitalize. He entered Saturday with a 3-shot lead, and when he was done, he had a 4-shot lead. It's really incredible how much better he is right now than everybody else in the world. And you and I were talking about it before the segment today. It reminds me of Tiger. And I used to get so frustrated as a fan, rooting for Duval and Mickelson and Ernie Els and Sergio. And it's like, gosh, can we have some drama? Tiger took all the drama out of it. And there was a little bit of drama on Sunday for sure. Scotty bogeyed the 17th hole, and both he and Morikawa flew the green on 18. Both made incredible up and downs. Some drama for sure, but for the most part, not a whole lot of drama. If you look at his last 8 starts, going back to the Arnold Palmer Invitational, his finishes are first, second, first, 8th, second, first. And jokingly we say it, but you had to arrest him to keep him from winning.
You called it, though, at the PGA Championship. I mean, you said that this was the one that he wasn't going to win, and he didn't, and you jumped right back on last week, so that's a good job by you. By the way, I want to mention before we get to this, about an hour and a half ago, I guess John Rahm had a press conference saying that he is hurt. I don't know if he's playing in this thing this weekend, but those of you who are betting on him or thinking about doing it, he could be a withdrawal. So just keep an eye on John Rahm, who, by the way, was the favorite in every golf match last year, didn't win them all like Scheffler is. So here it is, the staggering number on BetMGM, the shortest favorite to win a major I've ever seen, or at least since Tiger Woods. I mean, I can't ever remember anyone under 3.5. And they did it. BetMGM plus 333. It's like they're insulting us here. They're like, yeah, go ahead, take that if you want. Everybody else with much better odds. Xander, Rory McIlroy, Morikawa, Bryson after his great showing at the PGA. Oberg at 20-1. But Brady, you're right back on Scheffler here, right? Like, that's it. You're like, yeah, I'll take the temptation.
I am. I just think we're watching something generational here. Now, plus 350, plus 333, 3-1. I've seen stores at plus 275. And I believe by the time they tee off on Thursday, 3-1 or less is probably going to be the consensus number. Now, you go back to that text thread between you and I, and you know that I have Scotty at plus 450 and also at 4-1, which is definitely a fair price. The value is lost when you start to get to 3.5 and less. But, what does value mean if a guy doesn't win or if you have a ticket on the guy who does win, and I think that's where we are with Scotty. He's perfect for this golf course, and I have felt that for a while. I think when you break down Pinehurst number 2, it's an incredible golf course, one of the most iconic venues in America, maybe the most popular golf resort in America. Pinehurst number 2 is just one of 9 18-hole courses here at Pinehurst. Wide fairways, very little to no rough, and what you'll see in the graphics there, primarily it is sandy waste areas with wiregrass and native grass bordering these fairways. I don't think it's going to be extremely difficult to find the fairways, but finding the right spot will be crucial, because if you don't find the right spot, you can end up with uneven lies and very weird angles into these greens, which have a dome-like surface. They call them turtlebacks, like the shell of a turtle. And they will repel a lot of golf shots into these waste areas, these shaved off, I shouldn't say waste areas, runoff areas, collection areas, where you have to be incredibly creative with the short game. In 2014, we saw Martin Keimer use the putter from a lot of these areas off the green. You have to be a great scrambler, greens in regulation, and total driving long and straight. And that is 100% Scotty Scheffler. I think he's going to get it done again, Craig. That'll be 6 wins and 9 starts is my prediction.
And by the way, you can take Scheffler, pair him with one of these huge long shots, as Brady's best bets include Billy Horschel, 225-1. This is the biggest long shot I've seen Brady give out here on the show all season. Now, again, it doesn't mean he's going to win. It's just a shot that you can take, a little bit of a half unit or a dart throw. You also like Noren, Fleetwood, who is playing well, top 20 finish last week. Let's go through it here. Outside of Scheffler, who do you like?
Yeah, and in fairness, that Billy Horschel numbers come down. I saw that on Sunday night or something, and it's down now to about 150. But Noren and Horschel are just a couple of flyers. Do I think they have a great chance to finish top 20? Absolutely. Are they going to win it? Maybe. That would be a Michael Campbell in 2005 holding off Tiger at Pinehurst type of outlier situation. The other 3 guys, Oberg, I should say, Morikawa and Fleetwood, I think are legitimate contenders. Again, I'm all in on Scotty here, but all these guys, including the long shots, have the attributes of total driving, wicked short games, and greens in regulation. We'll see if we can hit one of the 6. And maybe all of them for a top 20 or better.
I like our chances. Again, Brady Kannon, he'll be all over the network this week talking about the U.S. Open. All right, Brady, have a great rest of your week. I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Thanks again.
Thanks so much, Craig.
All right, last licks up next.
You got Porzingis, you got Holiday, you got Derek White, you got literally, I would say what, 5 guys that can get you 20 points in a game?
I know people will say it's, only one guy. I don't believe that, Coach. That, one guy, those days are over, in my opinion. Like, a Bill Russell, a Wilt Chamberlain.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with the injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this. Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, "Look, don't come back." I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Panthers minus 2.5 games, plus 330. Panthers 2+ goals in every game, plus 225.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them not to get 2 goals in a game. It's going to take what Bobrovsky did last night. It's going to take Skinner to do in Edmonton. They're not going to do it in Florida.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We're going to get into a bunch of topics here as we end the show, including some football topics and some baseball as well. Let's get it started. It's time now for some last licks. All right, well, the idea of the Tagovailoa brothers playing in the National Football League seems to be coming to a close. Unfortunately for Tua Tagovailoa, he doesn't look like he's going to be playing in the National Football League, at least this season. The younger brother of Tua has signed with the Canadian Football League's Hamilton Tiger Cats practice squad, according to the team. Now, remember, he transferred to Maryland and had some different invitations to play in the NFL on practice squads, rookie camps, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, at least for the time being, for him. Now, he was really good in the Big Ten. I mean, make no mistake about it, over 11,000 passing yards over a 4-year run as a Terrapin starter. He exceeded 3,000 yards in each of his last 3 seasons. He was also second team All Big Ten as a junior and a senior, but it just appears that this is a player that's going to need some more seasoning. You don't see a lot of players do this anymore, which is go to the CFL. Usually they do go into a training camp with a National Football League team. So this is a curious decision made here, almost saying, I got no shot to make it in the first year in the NFL. Let me go play right now, sign right now. And we'll see if it works out with the different rules, of course, in the CFL. He could use his legs a little bit more, and maybe that success could lead to him getting another shot next year in the National Football League. All right, funny moment yesterday in a baseball game involving Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He swung the bat, it went flying, and it got stuck in the upper portion of the protective netting. You don't see this that often. And that's designed, by the way, to protect foul balls. The team was like, they gave him a new bat. He, grounded out or whatever. And then they were just trying to get the bat down. They couldn't do it. They were using a rod to get it down. This is a really funny video you could check out anywhere on social media or on YouTube. And inevitably, the bat slipped through the circle of the tape and landed through the top of the dugout. And the Blue Jays then handed it back to Vladimir Guerrero. I guess there's no negative to this. But back in my day, what would happen is you'd be able to catch the bat and keep it. But now with some of the netting, which is designed to protect people, the days of you getting a bat thrown into the stands can only happen in the right situation at certain ballparks, because essentially the protection has kind of cut off the fans from getting some of this memorabilia. Unless, of course, you're a pitcher on the Mets and you throw your glove over the net, and then you take home a piece of memorabilia there. All right, speaking of memorabilia, how about this one? Tom Brady, his pants. Yeah, Tom Brady, his pants that he wore in his last ever National League Football League game have been sold via auction. Gray Flannel Auctions is the name of the auction house, so we'll give them some credit. $89,000. The pants are for the final game of Brady's career when the Buccaneers lost to the Cowboys in the NFC wildcard game. And listen, it's a big piece of memorabilia here, of course. It started off the minimum of $10,000. It went to 15, 20, 50, 60, and then almost 100. Now, again, there's going to be some fees associated with that as well, keep in mind. But inside the pants, like I guess this is the insole, the slacks include the date and the Cowboys' name written inside the waistband, as well as the Bucs number 12 tag, which, of course, is for Tom Brady. So your last chance has gone by in getting Brady's pants, at least from that game. I'm sure he's got some others, right? The Patriots probably have a bunch somewhere hidden. Brady's probably got some from his special moments at his house. And then what do these athletes do? They hang on to them for a long time, and then inevitably they go up for sale on some auction house. So your last chance to get those may be gone, but something else in the future. If you really want to pony up 6 figures, you could get something from Tom Brady. All right, coming up after we're done, we got the early line at 12 o'clock Eastern. And by the way, that's less than a minute and a half from now, so stay tuned there. Followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast. That's 3 o'clock Eastern today. On the show today, we've got Mike Carver hosting along with Joe Lisi. That's from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. today. Followed by Game Time Decisions from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., getting you ready for all of the baseball action and WNBA as well. In-game live primetime, 8 to 10 Eastern, followed by Gabe and Sports Rage tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. That is our schedule for the day here on SportsGrid. All right, want to thank all of you for watching and our great graphics department and all of our associate producers, and of course our producer of the show, Michael Cohen, back from his vacation, back with us here on the show today. I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again to Brady Kannon, Jacob Camenker for coming on the show, and thank you, and Matthew Waters. Thank you so much for streaming and watching us here at SportsGrid. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Have a great day, everyone.